Hey Tom.
Oh, Nathan, how you going?
Hey. Yeah, good. You?
Good, yeah, all good, all good. Thought it'd be a
Good.
good format to run to talk about deal that you've just done in Dulwich. Um,
Yeah, the deal we did. We did it together.
yeah, we did, yeah, because it was a bit emotional, wasn't it? So it was over
Yeah.
in Gowlett Road, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making. I think anything in that sort of patch, Dulwich, Peckham, the last deal we did in January, that was what you were working on that for 7 years
Yeah,
or so.
yeah,
And then this one, it was like 2 years of engaging with the owners before we even got a sniff on it.
yeah. It's one of those where it's like I mean, I think that's probably just a reflection of the market rather than the local market per se. But when you're dealing with these little bits and bobs, you know, in sort of again whether the location is relevant or not, I don't know. But maybe it's just maybe it's profile of the vendor, profile of the asset. It says Peckham and Dulwich Community Church. I don't think it was a church. I mean, it was.
Was it was?
What was it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Shows
So
what I
the
know about it.
church used to use it as a theatre.
Right. Okay.
Or like do like theatre classes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, do classes there. Yeah, yeah.
I can only assume it didn't have the correct planning use for that.
I think that's how I know through the planning history.
Right. Okay.
That
Yeah.
was the only thing
Cool.
that came up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So what's the story? What's the story then?
So this
'Cause
one,
this came into the office about 2 years ago now.
longer than that,
Right.
longer than
Okay.
that. I think it was probably 2021 or
Right.
two. It came into the
Yeah.
office. Myself and a colleague went to the evaluation. Uh, they were not ready to sell.
Mhm.
However, for the next 2 to 3 years, I stayed in touch with them. So I would have a phone call, drop them an email every 3 months, like clockwork, just staying in touch. Didn't mean we'll get the actual instruction. So when we were actually pitching for the work originally, there were probably five other agents. They were very open and honest and said, look, we're
Yeah.
speaking to everyone. Um, and so even a couple of agents called us up and were like, look, let's try and get this together and stuff like that. But they weren't ready to sell. And then when it was time for them to sell, they just called us and was like, look, we're ready and we want you to sell it. And then that was the start of the actual process, which again took a bit of time because we had to get their expectations to um, where the market is.
I think having uh, a structured contact plan with clients over a long period of time is critical, isn't it? As in, we
Mm,
both know like leads that land on your desk today, it's highly likely that some of them won't convert into revenue for 12, 18, 24, 36 months. But really, that's where the success can come is recognizing the fact that a lead today could be revenue for tomorrow. Um,
mm.
and understanding and taking that, I guess it's a patient approach and not panicking by the fact that, they came into the office and it didn't convert immediately. I think I tend to find with some of these sorts of instructions, like especially the vendor profile, you know, they had personal circumstances that meant that they had to go through a feeling out process. They needed to get initial information. They actually weren't able to make certain elements of decisions when they came into the office immediately,
Mm.
but we had to be part of that. We had to engage in that process, and opposed to sort of fight back and go, "You need to put it on the market now," because they weren't ready. They couldn't.
Yeah,
Um,
literally they couldn't. So I think playing the long game has bared its fruits for sure.
yeah,
Um, you do end up wasting a lot of time with people that are not really serious, but it's up to us to gauge the people that are actually serious, but the time is just a bit off. And just my speech is always, I'm not going anywhere. So when you're ready, give me a call.
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, of
So
course. So we
worked out.
we win the instructions on this, but this didn't go to market.
No, it didn't. So winning the instruction, I think we went above and beyond on that. Um, I don't know if you agree, but like the report that I wrote for them, that
Yeah,
was serious.
yeah,
We got a lot of advice, called in a couple favors, which
yeah,
were very, very helpful in view of trying to get them some work as well. And in doing so, we were able to get their expectations to the right level because we were able to do the due diligence we needed to do and see what the actual value of the property was. Well, it's a development site, so what the site was, and then take it from there. But once we got the instruction, because it's that sort of location, Dulwich, Peckham, people want sites off market. Like if we put it straight to the market, great, but there will be a select few who just prefer to have that engagement prior to going to the market. So we drafted the brochure, but whilst we were drafting the brochure, we did a formal off-market campaign and we reported back to the client. And in that campaign, we were able to find a buyer who exceeded the owner's expectations. And so we were able to achieve a price that was suitable for both parties and then move forward straight away to a exchange and completion.
It's interesting, isn't it? If you break something like this down into 3 segments, so you've got, let's say, lead gen and lead management. So that comes from them identifying the property in the first place, engaging with the owners, and getting the property to a point where essentially it's there to be won, the instructions. So, and then you win that business, and then it's about marketing. Now, obviously, there's that, you know, off-market campaigns is still an element of marketing, right? It's just not it's not fully fledged marketing. That process was relatively straightforward, wasn't it? Like the marketing process. In fact, the negotiation from memory wasn't too difficult either way, as in you had two good parties, both of which were committed, but it was the legal process that seemed to just be the most challenging element of this site. I think there were elements that we didn't know or we hadn't been made aware of at the start of the process, which meant that took longer than it possibly should have done.
Yeah, I think there were 2 lessons there because we were kicking ourselves a little bit, but I don't think it was fair to kick ourselves on this. But one thing that we could learn from this particular deal was the owners had a very complicated site. There were over 12 titles, and with having 12 titles over a long period of time, there's going to be nuances and different bogeys and skeletons in there that you're not aware of. And we encouraged on several occasions to start your legal process, get a legal pack prepared, because it's going to take a while for you to do that because of the complexities around the site. And the vendor started but didn't really execute that process to the level that we wanted them to. And in not doing so, we spent maybe a month longer than we should have in the legal process. And there were issues that no one could have anticipated, which were dealt with. But some of them we could have anticipated and dealt with appropriately. But because it was such a complex site with the access and the trading history, so what companies were in there, there's 3 flats there. So the moving parts around that made it obvious that we needed to start that legal process as soon as possible.
Interesting, isn't it? I've reflected on this quite a lot, is the degree to which the client's expectation is, or sorry, let me ask that question differently. Where does the client's expectation sit in understanding the variations on the 12 titles? Is that with us as agent, or is that with their solicitors? I would default say it's the solicitors. Of course, we downloaded title, we reviewed them, but there were some of the things in the kind of, I guess, the deeper work within the title that, yeah, as you say, possibly we could have understood earlier in the process. But I think also, maybe because it was a bit complicated, there was multiple solicitors involved in the process, and But I think when it's not until you get into that process of a sale do some of these things come up. And we had a really credible, experienced buyer who wanted the site, was willing to work through those issues. I think it would have been not unusual for a buyer to get halfway through a 15, 16-week legal process and go, do you know what, guys, I've had enough. But the client or the buyer was very committed to it, and obviously you and I believe to be the right buyer, certainly, but the right level for the seller. But it's challenging, legals on sites like this at the moment is particularly challenging.
Yeah, and having good lawyers, like the deal we just did last week as well, like as you were saying on the phone, like good lawyer, like they perform very well, and it's the level of tenacity and service that we try and provide. We kind of expect from lawyers, but some of them only work 2 days a week and things like that, and
Yeah,
it makes it difficult to do a transaction if someone's only working 2 days a week, or they clock off at 6 o'clock, and it's like if you just waited 5 minutes, we could have just exchanged, and then it's off everyone's desk. And just doing working as a team, I think, is the key. And solicitors seeing us as a solution and not someone that's badgering them and just hounding them for information. Like we are here to help. Like we're the people that usually instigate the deal and create a situation where everyone's happy. We know both parties because we have to engage both parties. So why don't you use us as a solution? And I think the lawyers in this instance did use us quite a bit, which helped the process. But in other circumstances, they just don't copy us into emails, don't answer our calls, and just make everyone's life difficult when we're literally just trying to help push things along without causing too much drama.
what's that though? 1 in 10 who take that view?
Probably, probably even less than that.
Yeah,
Like the new ones that we deal with, you don't know what you're going to get. You
yeah,
really don't know. If you're dealing with someone a little bit more familiar, you know where you stand straight away. You know if they're on board or they're not on board, and you just have to work with it. But I think if everyone took a view that agents are here to help, then we know that their solicitors are there to help. So everyone's just working to a common goal. So why stop that process?
yeah. I don't know if that's historic relationships between solicitors and agents. I'm not
Mm,
sure. It's definitely got worse over the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe work cultures have shifted so that I don't know. There's more resistance to chasing. It's always been an issue, but I totally agree with you that if agents and solicitors are able to work closer together um, and have communication, as we did with solicitors on this deal and other deals we've done recently, it
mm,
makes the whole process better. If you're working with a lawyer as we were on this site, and they're calling you or messaging you at 7 p.m. off their mobile because answering, you're like, wow, like there's
yeah.
no expectation of that, but it's like-mindedness, you know.
Mm,
I might message people like out of hours. Well, I wouldn't necessarily expect them to respond. It's just because I'm tidying up the end of my day sort of stuff. But actually, when you get responses, you're like, okay, cool. Like maybe we're all trying to get this done together. And as you say, a bit of a team mindset can really make the difference.
100%. And I think with this deal, just to round off, I think there was a big team effort on a very complex site,
Mm.
um, and everyone mucked in to get the result that we all wanted, essentially. And when the issue came up, the solicitor, the buyer, the seller, and us were all on board to find a solution.
It's got to be the only way. I think
Yeah,
I think agents are probably tired of fighting with solicitors, and I think solicitors are probably tired of fighting with agents.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, and
I'm tired.
it doesn't have to be that way, does it? It can be more of a collaborative approach
100%.
to getting things done. But yeah, it's cool to get another one done. It's a nice part of the world to be doing business. We've done a few bits down there, and I know you've got a few similar bits coming up. And again, I think
Mm,
it's not there's maybe a misconception that because of the way that we market ourselves as a business, it's assumed that everything goes on the market, but it's probably 50-50 of stuff that reaches the market and stuff that doesn't, because a wide marketing campaign isn't necessarily the way for every single property.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
on to the
cool.
next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well done, mate. Catch you later. Cheers.